All right, welcome back to another episode of the Vets and Real Estate Podcast. This week, I am joined by Navy veteran Jeff. Going to talk about his journey into the lending side of the business. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so tell us, what did you do exactly in the Navy?
So I was a Navy Seabee, so did 20 years as a Seabee. So people that don't know, the Navy, we're the bastard childs of the Navy. Never been on a ship in my life. Did a lot of so Seabee is construction battalion. Hung out with Marines a lot of Army, but more vertical construction, project management kind of avenue.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was that what kind of got you interested in real estate altogether as you started looking at that transition, or was that just kind of completely by accident?
No, yeah, completely. I think everybody who falls into lending really falls into it. I don't think anybody dreams of being a lender, and I'm no different. So, transition. I had a home inspection company, so transitioning out, I had the SkillBridge program. You heard of the SkillBridge program?
I
Where
did.
you get out early? Yeah. So I was all hooked up with the SkillBridge program to be a home inspector. The guy that I had it all signed up and sealed delivered with went on literally another direction, and I wasn't included in his plans. And then went in the skipper's office, took my package off his desk, and then he was just like, "Oh, new plan." I was like, "New plan, right?" And then the guy that did my loan, I saw him at the gym literally the next day. And then he was just like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, getting out, probably out in about 6 months, 8 months. He's like, "Hey, ever think about doing lending?" I was like, "Not at all, but want to sign this form?" So that's literally how it started. So I just wanted out. I had to get out early, 6 months early was cool to intern somewhere, and basically did a new form, and he signed my application, and I started interning at CMS, Capital Mortgage Services, here in Ventura, and got my lending license that way. And kind of, he was doing a lot of the VA home loan stuff, and part of a couple organizations, but yeah, that's how it started.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about that SkillBridge process, and I guess how you went through that. We've had some people talk about it. We've had some folks talk about recruiting from the SkillBridge, but we haven't had somebody who actually went through the process and then let alone find out that the process wasn't going to work for you and then have to, kind of pivot pretty quick.
Yeah, so I got out in 21. So 2021 October I officially retired. So back that up, April 21 is when I did it. I know they changed it a lot with senior leadership not giving them enough the whole 6 months. But the SkillBridge program, it's basically it's a memorandum between your command, so from your skipper or the commanding officer to a company, right? And it's no cost of TAD orders. So it's no cost to the government. You get your full paychecks, but you go and intern somewhere before you separate. So you're still in the military, right? Still getting paychecks, but you're released on, no cost TAD orders. So you're released and you're allowed, to go intern at a company. So the caveat with that is you're not allowed to get paid, right, from the company. And then once you're on terminal and separating, the thing is for the veteran is the transit to help with the transitioning program from military to civilian world to give military a leg up. So if they need any kind of
So you're all intents and purposes a civilian at that point, just collecting a government paycheck?
Absolutely.
I'm saying so you can grow the beard. There's no PT. There's nothing. I mean, you're basically done. You don't have to get called back in. I'm sure the government's got something that if World War III hits, you're coming back. But for the
Yeah.
most part,
So
you're done. You don't check in at all.
it's a memo. It's a memorandum. So I think you have to check in once a month. Whoever calls and says, "Hey, you still alive?" kind of thing. But that's all it is. And it's basically a memorandum that says you can be called back at any time. The employer can fire you at any time. Like there's ways out of it if you don't want to do it. But yeah, you're free. So April 1st, I was out. I went April, May, June, July. It was kind of COVID was still, a thing. Not as bad, 21. So I got out in April, grew a beard, and then had a shave. Yeah, had a shave for my actual retirement, and I came back in July, had like my retirement check, basically like finished up the out process here for a week, and then went on terminal, and then was officially on terminal leave.
So from the employer side, I mean, they get a transitioning military person who's on full pay, full benefits, full everything, doing basically internship or kind of entry level style work. And I mean, that's it sounds like just a win-win for everybody, does it not?
Yeah, it really is. It's really like it's a cheat code. If you're getting out and you're not trying to take advantage of it, like you're missing the mark. The biggest thing is commands. Having your command release you that early, so you can go up to 6 months. I just told my command, I was like, "Hey, I'm retired. You're losing me either way. I'm retired, right? So it's done. So you're gonna lose me in April, or you're gonna lose me in July. How much am I really, doing here the last 3 months?"
Mm.
So yeah.
So from the SkillBridge perspective, did they help you get your licensing and all that kind of stuff during that internship process, or was it just for you to go out there and say, I like lending or I don't like lending?
Yeah, so it's all up to the company as well too. I know my company helped me out. I think they paid for my first test and paid for the training. So for the safe, the 20-hour safe course, they paid for that, got me all signed up with that. Did the training and then paid for my test. So those
Okay.
kudos for them, but not. It just with the memorandum and how you set it up, how how much they're going to pay and invest in you.
Gotcha. So what was the process of getting your license? What did that look like from a lender's perspective? We've heard the real estate side over and over again, but I mean, is it a state test, a national test? Is it one, two, six tests? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so it's actually it's easier than your real estate license, right? So it's less hours. So it's 20 hours for the safe exam, so 20-hour course, right? And then you have to take the safe exam, your NMLS, to get your NMLS license.
Mm.
And I can't even remember how many questions there is, whatever it is, 150 questions, 200 questions. But score, I think 75 or 80 on that, and then you just have your CE for whatever state. So there, lending's kind of weird because I'm on the broker side, so I have to get licensed per state. So there's
Okay.
CE or PE courses, to 4 hours. Some states are 4 hours, some are none. Um, and then to get licensed in that state. But on a national level, you can get all 50 states, and sometimes you just need your NMLS license, and you get all 50 states automatically. So
Okay.
it
That
depends
makes
where you hang
sense.
your license.
Now, you originally were thinking home inspection. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
coming from the CBs, coming from a construction background, I think that might make a little more logical sense. What
no,
was it about?
100%.
I guess what was it about home inspection? I guess got you excited, and then were you kind of reluctantly kind of looking at lending, or what did that process look like for you?
Yeah, so I bought my house probably a year and a half before I retired, and then the home inspector, when I bought my house 7 years ago, before that, you go through the process and you don't know anything, right? And then your realtor is like, "Hey, go to get a home inspector," and I'm like, "What's a home inspector?" Right? And me being a CB, and I had about 15 years in, I was curious. I followed this guy around like a puppy, right? And it
Hmm.
just probably annoyed him very much, right? And asked a lot of questions, right? And was over,
Yeah.
on his shoulder for 3 hours, right? Asking a lot of dumb questions, right? I wasn't playing stump the chump with him. I was just kind of curious on his process and what I mean, how he did it. So that it was always on the back of my head. And then going through that, separating out, I was like, hey, I think I can do this home inspection thing. And then the SkillBridge thing fell through, and then I started my own company while I was transitioning out and kind of doing both. So when I
Hmm.
was transitioning out, I had my home inspection company that it was mine, and then I had started my lending side, and then just straight, more time, money, energy you put into something is going to get more. So I would put time, money, energy in my home inspection company, and that would get better. And then I wouldn't do loans as much. And then I would switch to loans, and then my loans would go up in my home inspection company. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing enough home inspections, and not going to sugarcoat anything. I make more money as a lender than being a home inspector. So
I
started
would imagine the
transitioning over to
hours.
that.
I would imagine the hours are a little bit better and not as crazy. I don't know. Maybe crazy is not
Yeah,
the
so
right word, but I think as a home inspector, like I've heard too many times where like I've got to have it today, and you're like I'm booked for the next 3 days. On that
yeah,
side, where a lender there's deadlines, but I don't think it sounds nearly as crazy as the home inspection side.
the home inspectors, it's really not as crazy. I always gave a day turnaround. I can get a report out in 24 hours. So once I left the property, I guaranteed 24 hours. So that's plenty of time to do. And everything's
Mm.
so automated right now. So technology is your friend with a home inspector. So going around with the iPad, literally you have all your notes already in there. So you hit kitchen, take some pictures, and your notes are already there. And it's just like it's basically just hitting the marks, and then it does the report for you. So the more you do, the better you get. I can knock out a report in 15 minutes. Very first time it took me an hour and a half because you're like,
Mm.
I mean, you don't trust the process. But yeah, but and then pros and cons, right? So home inspection can take a house 2 hours, 2.5 hours, right? And
Mm.
then you get paid, send off the report, and you're done. You'll never hear from these people again. And then lending's just more drawn out. So but yeah, pros and cons. But I like lending better.
Yeah. What is you said you're a mortgage broker, and on that side, you're not working for a bank, but effectively you're working for multiple banks at this point, trying to sell multiple products. What does a day in a life look like? Is it a corporate 9 to 5 like, the banking side has, or are you much more flexible in what you're doing?
No, very very flexible in what I'm doing. Really don't I wouldn't say answer to anybody because you're an independent mortgage broker, so you're working for yourself.
Mm.
So depends what company you're at. My company really doesn't do a lot of like raw sales meetings. Every Wednesday or Tuesday, ring the bell kind of thing. So you really are working for yourself and trying to get business. Structure your day accordingly, right? So Mondays is follow up from the weekend, any pre-approvals, anything pop, call your agent. Fridays I like to get all my anybody shopping for pre-approvals, check in with them, and then give updates to real estate agents. Anything in escrow. On Fridays, say, hey, we're here in the process. But yeah.
Okay. Eh, With with that, then I would assume that being independent, you're out there chasing your own leads, finding buyers, finding agents. What is, I guess, outside of doing your job, what does the business development side look like for you?
No, exactly that. It's the hustle. You wake up every day unemployed, right? So
Mm.
how you get your business. I'm pretty involved in the association here. So Ventura County Coastal Association Realtors.
Mm.
So getting involved with those guys. I went through their leadership academy. Um, I'm on a couple associations there. I'm on the DI committee, a couple committees there. Really helped me out getting to know real estate agents and send me business. Um, I teach a lot. I teach classes there too. So the MRP course, that the military
Hmm.
relocation for professionals. So I teach that to them. I teach that twice at the association. And then I teach the ugly truth about the VA home loan. I'm actually teaching that next Friday at the association, but about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess through the association, you get a lot of FaceTime with other realtors or with realtors at that point, and that's really where you start building those relationships. Is that kind of the bulk of how you're building business? If y'all was brand new, is that the coming in? Is that the path I should be doing? Is get involved in the association and teaching classes, or what else does that look like?
Yeah, everybody's different, right? So everybody personality different. I don't, as you're talking to me and I don't light up the room. You know what I mean? I don't have a charming personality. Um, I don't, I can't walk in a real estate agent office, right, and win them over that way. So it's
Mm.
just trying to convince value, right? So with the VA stuff, it's like, hey, I'll teach this class. Hey, do you know this? I'll look up their condo for them. They'll say it's not VA approved, and I'll be like, no, it is. Here it is. Or it's like, or it's like, hey, let's get this condo approved. VA. So it's just giving value to agents instead of calling and saying, hey, give me leads. So
No, I like what you pointed out, and you're saying that you're not the kind of guy that's going to walk up and light up a room, and I completely get that because there's being in the industry as long as I have, there's definitely people that are salespeople and they are best friends with everybody within the first 5 minutes of meeting them, and then there's people like I would assume more you and I, where we're a little quiet, a little behind the scenes. We're subject matter experts. We know what we're doing. How I mean, obviously, you found success. Is it despite? Is it being that more that introverted, that kind of behind the scenes guy, a detriment to you? Is it something you felt like you've had to overcome?
yeah, kind of overcome it, just getting, I think more you show up and do get to know these guys, right? So with the association, they have a lot of, sponsored events, a lot of trainings, they have the caravans that, 3 times a week. So different city, every day, Wednesdays, Thursday, Fridays. I think just showing up and getting to know people, right? So, the introvert's, going to show up in the room and stand in the back with his hands in his pockets, and, slowly over time, what I mean, you're going to start moving in the front of the room. So
Mm.
I think just keep showing up.
I would
So
agree. I think that the consistency helps a lot, and I laugh. I was at a leadership academy things through NAR, and there's 20 of us from across the country, and what I laughed was that easily 80% of them outgoing introverts, and the 20% of us, the 4 or 5 of us, found ourselves all at the back of the room, all relatively quiet, all found out that, most of us were either college professors or instructors or some more subject matter experts. And it was kind of funny to watch how that room completely divided. Now that we're, most of the way through this, it's changed where we're now integrated. But it, to me, it's always been interesting is watching how introverts sell differently than what extroverts do as well. I mean, was this kind of something you took classes on, something you realized was something you needed to overcome, or how did you kind of figure out how to sell more as somebody that's a little more introverted and a little more behind the scenes?
definitely didn't take any classes. I think just keep, I was just told to keep showing up. You guys got to get to know these guys. That
Mm.
So I just had to go where agents go. You know what I mean? That's right. Like you just got to go where agents hang out, and who's going to give you business. And so there's two sides of the getting business, right? So you can go direct to consumer, right?
Mhm.
So which I do. Probably half of my business is direct to consumer as well too, right? So my social media is military. Most of my friends, 80% of my friends are military vets, right? So I get a lot of referrals that way. And then the other side is real estate agents. So, but once you really don't need a lot of them. Yeah, that's the thing. You don't need 100 real estate agents. You know what I mean? If you have 5 to 7 good ones that keep throwing your name out there, like you're fine.
So how does that relationship, and I think that's something we hear often from residential agents is, "Oh, my lender never gives me anything. I give them all this business." Like you're on the lending side. How do you keep that relationship? How should a residential agent that's in that world, how do they keep a relationship with you? And likewise, how do you keep that relationship there to where it's kind of win-win for everybody?
So the value piece too, right? So if they call and ask a question, you got to be Johnny on the spot, right? So a lot of times it
Mhm.
is knowledge, right? So that's a big keep away, because I hear it all the time too. It's like, oh, you don't give me anything. I'm just like, what? Well, I closed 7 loans with you, and 4 of them, were denied by your in-house lender. So I am doing something for you, right? So like, so that's a big one, right? That real estate agents forget. It's like, oh, it's like I close loans, right, that nobody else can do, right? And then charging them up as well too, right? So when you're dealing with the client, right, trying to speak highly of the real estate agent, how awesome they are, and you want to get this deal done without them. So that I think that helps as well too. But it's
Okay.
hard, you know what I mean? Because the real estate agent in our society, right? Society as a whole put these agents on a pedestal, right? So it's just like, oh, your real estate agent said, my I put it as, I'm not trying to rag on real estate agents, but you know, um, my I equivalent to my real estate agent said to my recruiter said, because they're normally wrong, right? Right?
Ouch.
Um, yeah. So especially when it comes to the VA space and veterans, right? And then two, the numbers don't lie, right? So, we all know the numbers, 76% of real estate agents didn't do a transaction last year,
Something like
right?
that. Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then one, I think it's 50% of them only done one, right? So when, it's just the odds are, you can't tell yourself you're a professional if you haven't done anything. So that just kind of, drives me bonkers a little bit. So, but the thing is, society, what I'm getting at, society is, we just put real estate agents out on a pedestal. So they're going to get the lead, it's just common, I think where norm is, it's like, oh, go find an agent, and then they're going to control most of the leads. So they're going to dish them out.
Gotcha.
Everybody wants a house. Nobody wants a mortgage.
Fair enough. And I know from the residential counterparts that we know here, the first question they have is, hey, are you pre-approved? Have you gotten all that? Let me get you in touch with my lender. So I can see exactly why you
Yeah.
focus, as much of your time on cultivating those relationships. And of course, having 5 or 6 good ones that are going to continue to go back and forth would absolutely make perfect sense. Is there something that you see kind of the residential agents don't do well when it comes to, other than not having the right information and being the recruiter? Is there something you see that they continually screw up that would make your life easier or make the home buyer or the veteran's life easier?
God, yeah. Where do I start? Yeah. Um, no, I think just knowing, especially, I do a lot of VA, so, that's, my bread and butter. Just understanding the VA space, what you can and can't do, and, the guidelines I get, just, listing a property. I just had one last week, we go on a contract. It looked like a single family house, right? But the prelim came back, it was a condo, right? So just
Mm.
like little things like that. It's just like, hey, like this needs to stop. Like, where do I go from here? And then the agent's like, oh, why does it matter? I'm like, well, this is a big, this is a big mess up. By the client thinking he's buying a house, a single family. Now the prelims are shown as a condo. Now this changes everything on lending side, because now it's not a single family. Now it's a condo. Now there's loan level price adjustments. Now it has to be VA approved, right? So, where do we go from here? So just like little nuances. It just never,
Mhm.
with the agent, it just, you have to be in it to win it. And there's so many nuances. You just have to keep going and learning. That kind of rambled off, but yeah. But that's why I don't like part-time agents,
Mm.
because I feel like I do this all day, every day, and I'm still learning, still messing up. And I'm just like, how do you do this part-time? Like, how do you, work at Home Depot and, you know, and do real estate on the side? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, I can totally see that. It just from a knowledge perspective, I mean, you're constantly learning. I've been at this for 15 years. I'm on the commercial side of the business, right? So I've been at this for 15 years. I mean, I'm an office specialist. I know office in and out. And there's still things that pop up where I had an agent call me just the other day asking questions about SBA loans on whether, this or that. I was like, wow, man, like I've been doing this long enough. I'm surprised I haven't run into this situation. I mean,
Yeah.
15 years, you'd think I've got this figured out. Uh, but you find a nuance, you find something changed, you find something has updated. And then of course, within the last year or so, we saw the whole thing change with VA loans, where now an allowable expense is paying an agent, where beforehand that wasn't. And how are you going to go through? I mean, these things change, maybe not drastically as that, but I'm sure the VA handbook gets updated, once or twice a year, does it not?
So it doesn't. So
Oh,
actually, it does get. So the handbook really doesn't get updated. So I call them NAV admins, right? So in the Navy military, they send out that, in the VA space is called circulars. So they'll send
okay.
out a circular that basically their communication saying like, hey, this changed. So you can go to va.gov and then pull up the circulars for the year. And then
Mm.
over time, they'll update the handbook with, all the updated circulars. But I don't know when the last time they updated the handbook. But like just how you said, the real estate commission that changed last year, a circular came out. Um, termite now, termite inspections. I know a couple states were added. I think Oregon, Colorado were added for termites. So now you need a termite report for Colorado. So that would be put out for the circular. But yeah,
Now you
absolutely.
mentioned you mentioned before that you're licensed in multiple states. Was there any strategy in which states you decide to get licensed in? I mean, obviously, I think you said California, Texas, those make sense,
Yeah.
large populations. Um, was there any thought, reason into why or which states, or was it just easy to get licensed in those states?
No, so military friendly. That's Washington State military. A lot. I just got to go where the military. So Virginia, Florida, Texas, it's military friendly states that a lot of retire. It's either military the people I know retire there, or
Hmm.
they're going to get stationed there. So
Okay. So really, your business is built around military then. I mean, is that fair to say?
it is. Yeah.
Was that a deliberate choice, or is that just kind of where you naturally found your sphere was and just kind of doubled down on it, or
Yeah, exactly. Just started, getting through the SkillBridge program and hanging out with those guys and, learning about the VA home loan and, veterans can take advantage of, not knowing guidelines, the difference between a lender overlay and the VA handbook. Just dive into that, just kind of took off from there. So my clientele is, military. The people I talk to, were military. So it's kind of, and I relate to these guys. So I tell the agents, I'm like, hey, like the odds of me calling you for going to coffee are slim to none. It's never gonna happen, right? So it's what I mean. I don't cold call you, but I promise you, like I will connect with your veteran, right? And when we start talking, it's easy to connect with these guys, and and I know what they're going through. I used my be alone 3 times. My wife bought our house when she was, 6 months pregnant. I was overseas. I did everything, she did everything power of attorney, right? And all the stuff that, I went through when trying to buy a house is still what veterans are going through today.
and I have to say I think that's important a lot of times is that what the warfighter, what the service member is going through is vastly different than a lot of transactions, and I think it is something that veterans are going to understand a whole lot better. Do you find that you are deliberately putting marketing out there or deliberately looking for those 5 or 6 agents to partner with as military as well, or just kind of happen to fall that way, or not at all?
Yeah. So I do. So starting, there's a Rudder. You heard of Rudder, RETR?
Mm,
Yeah. So Redder, there's MMI, there's a couple, model match, there's a couple, industry stuff you can use to target agents, right? So you can pull up agents and target, see how many VA loans they've done, how many transactions they've done, the buyer side, and
mm.
then what type of loan it was. So kind of backwards plan from there, I would pull up agents from Washington State, hey, who's doing a lot of VA loans, and tag them on social media and then attack them that way. And then now they see all my videos and then more of a traction that way. So I reverse engineering. So I never call them; they always call me.
Wait, so there's programs out there. You're teaching me something now. There's programs out there that
Yeah.
actually sit back and tell you what agents are doing production, what agents are doing what. That's all out there.
Absolutely. But agents like to put themselves on a pedestal, right? So
Sure.
a lot of times, you'd be like, oh, it's like I just did it to a guy at an open house. He was very embarrassed, right? So I had my laptop up. Real estate agent comes in, very snotty, right? He's like, oh, I sold every other house in this block the last 3 years. I'm like, hey, you got a business card? Right? Took him up, looked him up. I was like, he sold 2 houses in the last, 4 years. I was like, yeah,
Mm.
I mean, you didn't sell every other house, bud. That's a big difference. But yeah, start targeting them.
That's interesting to see that. I didn't realize that those kind of programs are out there, which I can imagine it's got to be almost laughable when everybody's a top producer, everybody's, you know, the best at absolutely everything. But yet there's literally programs that can, I'm assuming they're pulling data from the MLS as the transaction completed in the MLS. So I'm assuming that's where the data source is coming in. But that's fascinating. You can actually get smarter and dive in and find out who's doing a lot of VA loans. That's your specialty. And then make sure your marketing is going out to those doing VA loans.
There you go. And I target a lot. You heard of Veterans United, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, everybody. So horrible organization. I have nothing good to say about them. But with those guys is, I'll target agents that are hooked up with them, right? So it's just like, hey, if this deal falls through for whatever reason, give me a call. I can probably save it.
Okay. I can see that. And were these things you just kind of figured out through the process, or do you have kind of a coach or mentor that got you there? You've obviously, it sounds like you got some sophistication to all this.
No, just knowing, just I think just over just doing this every day after day is, realizing, what seeing loans from Veterans United, seeing where they mess up at, and trying to fix that.
So as we're starting to kind of wrap up where we're going, the question we usually sit back and ask is if the Jeff back in 2020, 2021 is getting ready to retire, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done absolutely differently, or maybe a lesson that you wish you didn't learn as hard as you did?
I think don't spend money on marketing. It doesn't work.
Mm, okay.
So, yeah, I think I got hooked up with, put a banner over here, sponsor this sports team. You know what I mean? Hey, can you get in my, I have this magazine, put in this, yeah, don't do any of that. Like, where put money in, I think would put money in yourself, right? Any other classes or training. But yeah, don't, I think I spent too much money on stupid advertising stuff.
What classes or training would you recommend, or would you wish you'd have taken sooner or quicker in your process?
What I'm doing now is so starting coaching. I think the coaching aspect of it I think is different. So having a coach that kind of structures, like I'm just starting to get into it. But yeah, how to structure. We talked about like structuring your day out. How to be a professional. So how to time block and time management. So
And what was that process like with a coach? We hear this often, but I don't think we've dove, excuse me, I don't think we've dove into this. What was that process of finding a coach and selecting a coach and getting going from there? What did that look like for you?
just I so on the brokers or best channel, just dive into just interviewing different coaches and what they provide and the cost analysis. So some of them are $5,000 for 6 months, some of them or $500 a month. So it's just what the right fit is and what they're going to provide for you. So,
Okay,
but
and each
it's all
coach
what
is,
you want. Yeah,
I say each coach is bringing something a little bit different to the table, right? I mean, some are probably more functional time business building kind of things. Maybe others are more processes. I mean, is that kind of what you were seeing as well?
absolutely.
And I guess more out of curiosity for me, are there actual coaches just in the lending side, or are these the same coaches that real estate agents are hiring and all that as well?
No, I think it's the same. Yeah, the same. It's kind of like the Tom Ferry. He's the big one, right, for you guys?
Right.
So kind of same concept, right? But just on the lending side. So, but yeah,
Okay.
we they teach you instead of Tom Ferry's going after clients. Our clients are real estate agents, so how to connect with the real estate agents. Yeah,
Gotcha.
same
Well, Jeff,
concept.
that's been fascinating stuff. Definitely an interesting interview, and looking at from the lending side and being a mortgage broker, being independent is fascinating to hear that side. Hopefully, as this airs and all that, you'll be more than willing to jump in and answer some questions with anybody that's looking at going down the same path you were.
Yeah,
Well, Jeff, thank you so much. And for those of y'all that are watching, again, you have questions, feel free to reach out, put this into the chat, and we'll definitely make sure we get you guys some answers. And don't forget to like and follow and share this with somebody you think that might find it interesting. Again, Jeff, thank you so much for your time today.
appreciate it.